Rise and join us in saluting the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Before we proceed with this evening's agenda, I notice we have some residents here who are primarily concerned with the situation at New York Avenue School.
Wild guess.
Faces look familiar from some of the previous meetings. I think I would be remiss if I didn't explain to you what the planning board procedures are versus town board. Town board, as you know, has a public portion following their going through the agenda. The planning department of the planning board does not. The items that you see on the agenda are scheduled public hearings. They're advertised. And for this board to have hold a public hearing, we must hear from both sides. Now, regarding the situation with the Smithtown School District, the town has not received any proposals at all from the school district. And as you know, when you read in the paper, just as I do, there's all types of proposals being bandied about, which I'm not quite sure how accurate they are. So you're more than welcome to attend the meeting. If you have an agenda, on the bottom of the agenda is the phone number of the planning department. If you have any questions as to what meetings may occur in the future, you can call them. There's also a web link, which also includes all of the agendas, the agenda that you have before you this evening, as well as transcripts, and this meeting is being videotaped. So we have an open process here. However, it precludes any discussion this evening on New York Avenue School. Again, you're more than welcome to attend and stay in attendance, and we'll now proceed with our regularly scheduled agenda.
Can I ask one question, if I may, real quick?
All right.
I understand we're not on the agenda, not looking for discussion. We have a petition we'd just like to maybe...
I have a copy of petitions. They are single-page letters, I think, signed by multiple residents. If you have a petition, you can certainly forward it. We will include it.
And just we're trying to learn the process, and we understand that nothing is finalized, nothing is even submitted. So we know a lot of times that the different developers come, they speak to the planners, because they have to find what the codes are and what's permissible. And there are certain relationships, you know, that just naturally happen. I'm not saying bad, but that a lot of times things maybe are developed and forged in a certain level of comfort. And we were just hoping to express that, you know, there is a lot of opposition, and that's all we were looking to do.
I can assure you this is going to be a very open and transparent process. First thing you may notice is a large 2 by 3 foot sign with red lettering, I believe it is, calling for, stating that there's going to be a public hearing set at a certain date and time. I can tell you right now, it won't be in this room, but it'll probably be at the Senior Citizen Center due to the huge amount of community interest. So with that being said, again, thank you for your interest, and this is my town as well. I live and I travel here every day, so it is in the interest of myself and all of these board members to keep Smithtown, and we'll wait and see what the future holds.
So that if any developer was to submit a plan, it would be through this particular board though first?
I believe it would go through this board first if it was a rezoning or a subdivision. And then the town board would have the final say.
Put on the agenda first, though, so we have to
Yes.
see in advance, so that's how we would know if somebody was looking.
Absolutely. Again, you have the phone number. Contact the planning department if you have any questions. It will certainly be listed on the town website too, as far as when we send out the agendas.
May I just provide the petition?
Certainly.
And again, probably we'll stay for a little while just to learn the process. Again, we're new to this. We're just trying
Certainly.
to learn.
This is Mr. Flynn, our planning director. I'm sure many of you have come in contact with the staff there.
Could you just state your name, just for the recorder?
Bob Hughes, 54 Hawkins Avenue, Smithtown.
Thank you.
Okay. With that being said, the chair recognizes Planner Matthew Colato for a reading of the matters that the planning department recommends we adjourn.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Board. The Planning Department would like to recommend the following items for adjournment because the applicants are not ready to be heard at this time. Under zoning petitions, number 1, 2012-04, Storybook Homes, Nesconset. Number 2, 2012-02, Carlson Associates, Kings Park. Number 3, 2015-05, Thomas Giswali, Kings Park. Number 4, 2010-06, KVC Holdings. Under waiver requests, 5, number 773 Scholar Estates Comac, number 6, 1135 Tuami Platte St. James, number 7, 911A Glenholm Northern St. James. Under final subdivision, 8, number 1156 map of open meadow Fort Salonga, and under amendment of conditional approval, 9, a 288 application, second map of San Remo.
Is there any members of the public who wishes to be heard on the matters being recommended for adjournment? There being none, is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn items 1 through 9 is read.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The items are adjourned. Under new hearings and decisions, we have a conditional final approval for the map of Sesame Estates in Kings Park.
The applicant has submitted his affidavit of posting. The applicant is requesting a 6-month extension of the conditional final approval in order to obtain more time to submit the paperwork necessary for the filing of the map. The final map of number 922 Sesame Estates Section 2 was granted conditional final approval by the Planning Board on January 20th, 2016. This final plat approval is valid for a 6-month period to end on July 20th, 2016. The applicant received an extension of approval from the Planning Board at the July 13th, 2016 Planning Board meeting that expired on January 20th, 2017. The applicant submitted a second request for an extension on January 5th, 2017. The Planning Department has reviewed the request and has no objection to retroactively extend final approval for the subdivision known as number 922 Sesame Estates Section 2. The Planning Department offers the following resolution for the Board's consideration. Be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby grants a retroactive 6-month extension of time to the conditional final approval for the subdivision known as number 922 Sesame Estates, Section 2, beginning January 20th, 2017 through July 20th, 2017.
Okay, any questions from any members of the board? Oh, first you have to get up there before we ask the questions.
You know, I felt really left out. I thought all these people were here.
Just for you?
They're not.
We're here for you.
Okay, thank you. I've heard the recommendation of the planning department, and my client concurs with the recommendation. Ask the board to extend. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from any members of the board? Any members of the public wish to be heard on this at this public hearing? There being none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing in the
Second.
matter of Sesame Estates, Section 2, number 922.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Public hearing is closed. On the resolution itself,
In the matter of number 922 Sesame Estates Section 2, I move that we adopt the resolution as read in accordance with the recommendation of the Planning Department.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a waiver request for Flynn Platt in Kings Park.
The affidavit, thank you. The applicant is requesting to waive condition Q of the conditional final approval for the subdivision known as number 1101 map of Flynn Platt. The request to waive condition Q of the conditional final approval was denied by the Planning Board at the November 2nd, 2016 Planning Board meeting. Condition Q is as follows. 2 rows of native non-invasive plants and trees as determined by the Town Department of the Environment and Waterways Urban Forester shall be planted on the inside perimeter of the fence described in condition P above. The reason the waiver of condition Q was not granted was because the plantings would help prevent encroachment and clearing onto the state and town properties. It was determined that encroachment onto the adjacent properties already occurred, and this furthered the board's decision. Since the time of the November 2nd, 2016 meeting, the property owner, Suffolk County Tax Map number 800-15-413.2, has been in contact with the members of the town board and the town attorney and has agreed to enter into a maintenance agreement with the town regarding the town property. The agreement has been drafted by the town attorney but needs to be authorized by the town board. The Planning Department recommends that the board approve the waiver subject to the property owner committing to maintain the town-owned property to the north of his property. The Planning Department offers the following resolution for the board's consideration. Be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby approves the request of Lawrence G. Flynn to waive final condition Q within the subdivision known as number 1101 map of Flynn Platt for the reasons described in the Planning Department's memorandum dated January 20th, 2017, and subject to the following condition. 1. The property owner shall enter into a maintenance commitment with the town, agreeing to maintain the town-owned property to the north.
Tramarko.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Vincent Tramarko. I represent the applicant. We concur with the recommendation of the planning department. Actually, Mr. Falkowski is here tonight, and he will be the homeowner entering into the agreement with the town. So we ask the board for its favorable
Okay, and I
consideration.
assume you're communicating with the town attorney for the agreement for the town board resolution? Okay. Any members of the board have any questions?
Is that agreement transferable if this property is sold?
That I do not know.
It probably will be couched in those terms, but I don't know. I haven't seen the agreement yet, so the board could make that recommendation.
Well, I think that's a good point, but if it's going to be expected to be binding on any future homeowners, I think it would have to be recorded somewhere so that a new buyer coming in would
Right.
know of its existence. If the seller chose not to tell them about it, they would never know,
Right, so
unless it
sort
was
of covenant
recorded somewhere.
That's a good idea, Mr. Earhart, and what I could suggest to the town attorney is do it in the form of an agreement, boundary line agreement, so that gets recorded,
Then everybody's on notice.
and then it would run with the land.
And anybody coming in to buy it, do the title search, and then it would come up in that, and then
That's correct.
then they would know about it.
Yes,
And I assume insurance-wise, it would have to be certificates of insurance or something included in such an agreement, so the town would not be liable for any mishap that happens on the
Right.
property.
yeah. I don't know yet, but I will be reviewing.
Again, that's the town board and their attorney, the town attorney, to resolve these issues. But
Yes.
Sure, they could put like a hold harmless clause in the agreement, that's probably pretty standard.
Yeah.
counsel, any
Well,
comments?
there is a hold harmless clause in the agreement that I saw, but I don't know
Okay.
if that's the final version. And it also asks the licensee to name the town as an additional insured on the liability
Okay.
policy. So those two terms are covered if this is the final agreement. I just don't know if it is or not.
I don't know if it is or not, but,
But the boundary line agreement would be something, would be positive. Also, the agreement is a little bit murky in terms of what portion of property being covered and what the specifics are. Again, I'm not second guessing anybody, but the final agreement should be far more specific than the draft that I saw.
Well, I'm
because-
sure they'll deal with that part of it, but we're just concerned that if, as it's been stated, that is it gonna run with the land, then you have to have some type of a provision that any buyer coming in would get notice of it, and I think the boundary line agreement that Mr. Tramarko suggested would be recorded in Riverhead, so that any buyer coming
Yeah,
in, do a title search, it would be picked up, and then they know of their obligation to maintain their property.
Yeah, that's an important point, and also, the agreement should specify what's actually gonna take place and where it's gonna take place.
okay. Any other questions from the board? Any members of the public wish to be heard on this? There being no further comment, is there a motion to close this public hearing?
Motion to close this public hearing in the matter of Flynn Platt, number 1101.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is closed on the resolution itself.
In the matter of number 1101, map of Flint Plat, I move that we adopt the resolution as read in accordance with the recommendation of the planning department.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being no opposition, the waiver request is granted.
Thank you.
Is there any other matters to come before the board? There being none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.